Okay, everybody, there's a water-ish character in the bottom right-hand corner. We must be talking about Amneris today. Hello, everyone. This is the character that I chose not to pull. And honestly, you know what? There's been so much hype about Sephiroth that sometimes we forget that there are other SURs. But this is a non-limited time unit, and we are going to be talking about Amneris today. And Amneris, a new water elemental mage, a character that has been featured in the game's story for a considerable amount of time. Is she actually worth it? Yeah, she actually really is. Alright, so water elemental character, 100 cost. Is she limited? No, you can get her today, you can get her 1,000 years into the future. Just kidding, the game won't last that long. But anyway, new main job, which is unique to her. Scholar is secondary, Arithmetician is third, 3 move, 1 jump, and equips rod, hat, clothing, and accessories. Speaking of clothing, let's talk about her Trust Mastery. Now, her Trust Mastery is 357 HP, 6 defense, 12 spirit, and the ability itself is a TMR skill that increases the summon gauge. 1 cast, 30 TP. Honestly, kind of underwhelmed by this. I mean, just the fact that Espers are not really feeling like they're making that big of a difference in the game. This TMR is kind of just eh. It really is eh. I mean, summon aficionados will definitely like it, but for everybody else, I just feel like Amneris' Trust Mastery is just whatever. Now, as for a lot of people know that she is the Thunder Sage of Hess in terms of FFBE lore, and of course she summons a giant meteor, and she is a water-based unit. I mean, it's a mage, whatever, doesn't really matter. But there's one thing that we need to discuss before we talk too much about this unit. She's pretty insane. There's been a lot of focus on Sephiroth, and that's correct. There is a reason why you are focusing so heavily on Sephiroth, but that being said, Amneris really is a character that you should not ignore. So before we get into what might be considered to be an unfair trial, guess we'll find out soon enough. Let's take a look at what a 140 version of her, and as I said in the Sephiroth video, if you missed that video, units are now being shown off at 140, but based on the stats, as far as I can tell, they haven't really gotten that much into the reincarnation system. As far as I'm concerned, what I think is happening with friend units now is that they are gotten into the reincarnation system, but not maxed, essentially taken up to level 140 without any reincarnations. Now, I really can't say definitively, as this is only the first day that we've had this available to us, but that is my guess as to what is the story with all of this. And 140 shouldn't really be looked at too seriously or too concerningly, as seems basically where you're going to end up. As a matter of fact, it's even if this was with a fully reincarnated character, then I would just have to say that honestly looks very similar to just having runes equipped. Maybe, I don't know. It can't be fully reincarnated. It just doesn't have enough stats. Otherwise, the community would have blown something way out of proportion. Anyway, that's not what we're here to. 7,000. Now, equipped with a full water-based party, you can see 7,000 HP, almost 1,800 magic, 8 defense, 16 spirit, 99 in terms of speed, does have the magic ball equipped in her own TMR, as well as the brand new piece of equipment, the whale whisker, which does give an increase of magic of 30% to herself and some other classes, which I will show off right here. Those are the classes that get this bonus, and a 15 accuracy increase, as well as a magic attack of 15. It's not the greatest rod I've ever seen, but and there's probably an entendre in there somewhere, a double entendre, but yeah, it's a good piece of equipment that supports our new character. Now, we've kind of gone through all of that. Let's take a look at the resistances. Now, again, nothing really too much here that's going to be affecting like really that much of her resistances. I mean, we have a couple of more recent vision cards also here. I mean, if you look at this, I mean, 60% magic boost is definitely contributing to her power. And even the Ramu card, and they didn't even put Dark Ramu on her, they just put Bahamut with that. Okay, all right, fine, sure, why not, whatever. So let's look at the resistances really quick. 10% slash, 5% punch, 42% ranged, and 35% magic, with, as you can see, a 15% resistance. Most of that's from the Miranda Vision card, towards being thunder immune, and also has a good amount of fire resistance too. Let me just double check. Yes, she is in the water party. With a more focused water elemental mage party, she would probably be even better, and focusing on resistance card. Resistances, you can get it higher. If you look, don't move resistance and slow resistance and silence resistance are all generally good, but less impressive than I've seen on some other characters in terms of particularly nasty status effects out there right now. All right, so skill speed rundown. Let's go. Limit burst decreases spirit by 25 and deals damage in a large AoE. Not actually that impressive for the cost. If you look at what other characters limit bursts are doing, usually they're doing more than this. A decrease in spirit is not bad, but honestly, really just not that impressive. Taking a look at other, we're going to talk about sub-jobs. Arithmetician has all the stuff you would like from Arithmetician. Heals, damages, not restricted to height, and all that good schnoz. Love Arithmetician. It's a great addition to her kit. Next up is Scholar. Scholar also has a great addition to her kit, increasing her defense, debuff resistance, and debuff resistance for all elemental resistance. Dealing damage, restores CT to herself while also increasing decreasing her skill activation time. Can decrease attack with a single target attack, and has the large diamond AoE for Scholar that absorbs 30% of the damage when done. So if you're keeping track at home, this is important. She has access to 2 heals in the sub part at the very least. That's really going to be important for what we're talking about in a second here. As we're going up, let's talk about the reaction command really quick. Her original one will be counter all damage with a 25% chance to inflict sleep and 25% chance to inflict slow. Pretty nasty, good range on this, just a powerful counter ability if it goes off. Now, as for this one is also particularly nice. Missile and magic resistance makes her good against 2 range things that could potentially stop her from getting close to enemies and killing them. Also really good in the thunder matchup, which is one of her worst, and honestly that's really nice. And there's one more support skill, but we're not going to look at it quite yet. Let's take a look at her main job. Alright, so first, a large spread AoE with casting time, 185. Also increases her AoE resistance for 40 for a single turn. I have to say, curious and interesting. I mean, the casting time makes it a little dubious whether this will go off properly, but makes her really hard to kill on an AoE. Now, on a single target one, ain't gonna do really much to protect her, but kind of nice to have another AoE that does give a bonus, and interestingly, more to her. Her other ability? Restore CT for herself. Decrease casting time. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's essentially the Scholar ability. The Scholar ability does work on the same amount of CT and the same amount of restoration. So really, in all honesty, I think that this is an easy chuck away for Scholar or Arithmetician. Not even really a contest. It's just better to run either of her sub-jobs over her main job. Now, looking at the main part of her kit, this attack is a single target attack that dispels auto revive. Quite nice, I'll have you say. And this ability, quite the ability. Now, it does effectively work on when the conditions are met, restore 50% when it HP falls below 50%, cast a single heal. Now, this is huge because this goes for multiple units. If you think about some units that aren't quite up to par with Snow, who is capable of restoring a buttload of HP, I mean, this 40% HP heal is massive for most tanks that don't have access to this. Characters for older tanks, lower tier cost tanks like Nasha could benefit from this. Higher cost tier tanks as well could benefit from this. If you just put this on Celeste, this is just amazing. If you put this on any character, this is amazing. This is a hell of a support skill to run. All right, our next ability we need to talk about, as I accidentally scrolled too far down, reduce counter chance by 100 for 3 turns for the target and a 220 mod. Just a really powerful attack that also blocks reactions, and reactions are pretty good right now. So yes, this is a good ability to run. Removal of single target resistance for allies, or sorry, no, I'm reading the wrong one. This is also just a must be a casting time decrease. I'm looking at the wrong one. The one I wanted next was this one. Now, her AoE ability here does decrease single target resistance, as my brain just shot out through my ears. 25 down for single target resistance. Now, this is the ability that's really, really cool. It effectively is an AoE skill, but you get to choose multiple targets to get hit by it. And interestingly, its increase into EX also, or wait, is it the other one? I'm not entirely sure about this one. I'm going to put, okay, so one of Amneris's big skills is that she's effectively able to do an AoE where she's able to select targets. Now, the interesting thing about this is as she goes up into the reincarnation, she effectively allows to change herself from 2 targets to 3 targets. And even though it is an AoE ability, she's effectively targeting single units to be hit by a single target attack. In other words, it's not AoE damage, it's actually single target damage, and it's pretty considerable. And it's just really, really cool, and I hope more mages get it in the future. All right, getting back on track to what I was talking about before my brain went bleh. We also have a reduced magical damage taken for 50% for 3 times for allies. Again, very strong combination with the restore HP. Amneris does work very well as a team doing support skills for people that are just really nice. Having this kind of resistances to dying, in the fact that she's able to protect against mages, which is something that water kind of wants right now. Some things like Astrius and whatnot potentially are not so good into magic, will want more ways to reduce magic damage and then just heal themselves, which is really powerful. And her job level 25 does get increased into her reincarnation, dispelling all buffs for targets, all haste for target, dispels physical damage increase, magical damage increase, 200% mod, and absorbs 30%. Again, this is going to be important in a second. Basically, her kit, lot of great hard-hitting magical-based damage attacks that are very strong and very capable of hurting the enemy really badly and potentially even healing herself up. Now we return to the one ability we haven't talked about, which is this. This thing, if it doesn't scare you, it's because you don't know any better. This is the Skahal ability, and it's on a support skill. So Skahal recently got upgraded with the Master Ability 2s and everything to effectively be to gain a Guts style effect every time his HP is over 70%. So if his HP falls under 70% but he doesn't die, well, then the ability is canceled out. However, If he drops from 100% to 0%, he can't, because the guts effect will trigger and he'll stay alive. If he heals himself back up, the effect is reapplied to the character. So are you understanding? Amneris is actually completely insane because of this one single ability. This ability right here not only increases her HP and spirit penetration, which by the way is fairly hefty. We're looking at spirit penetration of 40 and HP increased by 12%. But the fact that she has a constant recasting ability that keeps her alive, she is effectively an immortal spirit, that she can drop from 70% down to 0 and stay alive because of this effect. Then cast her job level 25 ability and re-heal potentially right the heck back up to potentially full, or use the Scholar ability to heal back up to full, or Arithmetician to heal back up to full. This character is already incredibly scary and is probably one of the most high rank characters in the game, because while Skahal is strong because of this ability, Skahal's kit is older and can't deal with certain things as well as Amneris can. Amneris has a lot more cancellation of abilities, and actually, honestly, taking a look at her, she's way better into the idea of, hey, you know what? Why don't we leave her with less HP? So long as it's easy for her to heal back up to full, it's easy for her to keep applying that effect and make it really, really difficult for the enemy to kill her. It worked incredibly well with Skahal in the official PvP tournament on JP, and I have the exact same expectation for her. Honestly, she just seems really crazy and capable. I mean, you can build her with no HP. She doesn't even need, the less resistances, potentially the better. But you do want to crank her speed right through the roof, so she has the possibility of constantly getting in more and more heals to bring her back up. So we're going to be testing Thunder Element versus Water. And is that fair? No. Even with the Sephiroth review I filmed before this, I really made it so that, wow, that's a lot of hair. I made it so that it was at least slightly fair, and this time we're just not doing that. We're just going to test effectively how this works. We're going to test and see whether or not Runic cancels out some abilities, and how much damage she is capable of doing against the anti-element for her. This is not her strong element. So taking a look at this, you can see that she is dishing out a large amount of damage to a mass amount of characters, and just outright basically killing Fred if she gets even remotely of a crit. So her limit burst is quite strong, but then we have a bunch of other abilities. So this is the multi-select. I do want to make an apology. This is her job level 25 ability. So we even caught it in the same video. I'm sure that somebody's already posted in the comments that I did that wrong. This is her AoE. Now her AoE is just simply an AoE. You can see right here how much damage it's doing. It's even doing an incredible amount of damage towards Celeste, who is no slouch as a magic tank. But we can see that just multiple different enemies, the best chance we have here of really dishing out little damage against an enemy is Astrius of all people. But even the lightning units are getting hit pretty damn hard, and she's even killing herself. But here is the cool ability. So this is her job level 25. As you can see here, we can choose multiple different targets for this one and cast it on 3. Now, if you are out of reincarnation, you will only get to select 2, but still pretty cool. I like this new interface. It seems really awesome, and I hope we get to see more of this into the future, which I think I've already said. But anyway, we can get an idea for just how hard-hitting she is, even against lightning. This is her bad matchup, so I am particularly pretty impressed with her kit overall. So we have a bunch of different skills. Now, the one thing I will say that I am not so much of a fan of is that unlike some of the other characters out there, really not getting much other ways of increasing her damage once we are into the battle. As you can see, we can see her HP, we can see her speed, her magic, all of that good stuff. But she doesn't really, while she has a lot of buffs to keep her alive, she really doesn't have a lot of other buffs to do much more than that. So let's just make sure which ability. So this is the anti-magic. We're not super interested in that. I think we're going to be trying this ability out for the HP heal, and we're going to be throwing it on Amneris as well as ourselves. Now taking a look at what Amneris can do here, we're just seeing the amount of damage he can dish out against her. And this is a pretty fully built Amneris too, I will just say. So let's just run this, get some buffs going. We will run Runic on Celeste so we can test which ones that Celeste can do versus the ones she can't. And now let's just try hitting her with everything we got. So even Lightning's abilities here. You can see that we get very, very close to killing her, but not necessary. And this is kind of actually a negative for this review video. We want to see 100% kill rates. We want to see that damage through the roof. So let's just go up. We do want to be a little bit careful. Lightning does have a secondary hit ability that would get through this. So let's run this, give it a little bit of a boost. Getting Frederica's up as well. And last but not least, getting Cloud ready. All right, so at this point, we are kind of all set. We also have boosted her a little bit, so we can see how much damage we are doing now that they've had a turn. You can see that Cloud is actually the most damage resistant of our Thunder units. And over here, testing against Amneris. Amneris is once again being particularly good. Limit Burst is able to get through Celeste. Her job level 25 ability is not. What I am curious about, and we will test this in just a second here. So that one can get through Runic. That one cannot. That one cannot. And that one cannot. So the only ability that was able to get through was this one, her 28 AP, deal damage, large, and reaction block, which is kind of interesting. Now, this one I want to test. So we are going to hit Lightning. Maybe not Frederica. We'll hit Cloud. And last but not least, we are going to hit Celeste. And the really curious thing that I am interested in here in testing out is whether this will be blocked for all characters by Runic. There's a good chance that we will not. As a matter of fact, Cloud is just a little bit too close to dying, so we're not going to do that. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. A little bit of an anticlimax as we have to wait an extra turn. We can also see a fully powered up Amneris is very capable of killing her. Now, again, we do want to be careful. While we know that we could kill her with some of the extra double hits, we do want to kind of test out a little bit about how much damage we are capable of doing her and watching her self-heal. So let's get this a shot. So we actually got the... So we can notice two things from that. Number one, we got a slow counter on Amneris, and it happened pretty easily. And that, right there, ladies and gentlemen, is incredibly interesting. So it is actually fully blocked by Runic for Celeste only. So this is another type of magic attack that is capable of getting through. Now, this is also a little bit concerning because at this point, her HP is less than 70%. If we were to actually hit her with this limit burst right now, she will die. That is how that works. So healing here is particularly really interesting. Overall, I think that Amneris is very, very strong, a very powerful character. Now again, so many asterisks maybe about certain things with this character is the fact that she does have something a little bit interesting, that her magic stat is already cranked incredibly high at about 1800 magic. It's kind of as high as you would ever really expect it to get. I don't know if you can expect to see really too much more from her in terms of how much DPS. Like, we're literally right below 2000, but maybe with the reincarnation system she can get even higher. It just the fine tuning of how this unit to make sure that she is literally unkillable, of reducing her HP as much as possible, making her as brittle as possible, might be the correct choice here. And I'm very, again, interested to see how this goes in the future, whether or not the prophecy comes true and she ends up being really good and everything. Guess we'll have to wait and see. But we learned a fair amount of stuff about how this works. We've seen her interaction with Runic. We've seen her interaction against other things. I hit the wrong button there. So let's just get her down and going. And we'll run a couple other abilities just because we can. Yeah, we'll run this CT activation so we can see how much faster skills are. One other thing, let's just, because I didn't check the counter, roughly about 29% chance to happen. Right, just with a few other characters, we can see very little chance of the status effects landing right now, but 29% chance of it going, which is curious. I would be interested to see roughly about how well that goes. So let's kill these two wolves. Bang, bang. We'll get lightning up here. Get her down here. Able to hit one of the units, so let's just go with that. Also get another quick look at this ability. And just over here. You know what? Let's heal. We have this healing ability. I mean, we could get her to self-heal, but again, demoing potentially the synergy that two units can have, because I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting to see how much synergy some of these guys can have with the other units. Big bird over here just won't come down. All right, so this one is her heal ability. So let's just try that off. As you can see, if you have enemies in range, it will auto-select. Now you can, of course, just choose the ones you want, and that's totally fine, but it will auto-select for you. So let's do that. We have the casting time decrease, so it'll be interesting to see how well that goes. But basically, this ability really kind of protects you from having potentially issues where you shoot where you AoE your own unit potentially, and that's kind of frustrating. So pretty neat, pretty cool, pretty powerful. So Amneris, incredibly powerful. I'd say one of the top tier units in the game. Only time will tell how dominant and annoying she ends up being. But yeah, that's it for this video. Kind of a long one, but lots to talk about. So thank you so much for watching. Take care. And we'll be doing a direct which is better unit video between Sephiroth and Amneris following this. Thanks, and see you next time.